Welcome to episode 21 of Savage Discourse.
Welcome. We going fast?
Boom.
Boom. We going Ricky Bobby fast?
What? We made it.
Yeah, we did. I didn't think we were going to make it.
No, we made it. So it was so quick.
It's picture perfect finish.
Dude, if you had only seen the green room prior to Kyle and I coming out on this stage in preparation for that beginning opener, you would have seen two grown men sweating, reciting scripts endlessly back and forth. So I'm elated that we made it.
Yeah, we almost called the whole show.
Yeah.
But
So welcome back. Last week we talked about
poop,
no.
probably.
Poop. Oh yeah, I think we did talk a lot about poop. It was a very scatological, a scatocentric episode.
Hope you guys are ready for poop part 2.
Poo 2.
More poop a coming.
The poopinin'. But yeah. I'm kind of like, my bathroom's doing that terrifying thing it does.
the fucking poopter guys.
The poopter guys. That's amazing. Yeah, it's making me it's definitely like out of like an Eli Roth movie.
I love
like
that.
Hostel.
I love when it does that when I'm trying to poop in there.
Do we tell the story on here of like whenever you were in there and you were moving Earth and you thought that you were okay? You should tell that story.
I was in there and I was moving Earth.
To catch you up to speed real quick.
I was trying to take a big old poo poo, and I was succeeding. Actually, there was no doubting.
I was understanding that you had it on the ropes. Like
Yeah.
you had the final rounds.
Yeah, there was no doubting the outcome. It was going to happen.
Okay.
But as I was squeezing in there, the lights started like dimming and lighting up really bright and dimming and lighting up really bright, and I thought I had the power and was just like energizing the whole house from squeezing so hard.
Like you were like almost reaching power level 9,000, and you're like saying flow was like distorting the electric field.
I thought I was about to ascend to another dimension, but I wanted to finish my poop first. That would suck. Just ascending in mid poop.
I feel like it would be traumatic for people that are left behind because there would just be like a cleanly shorn log. Like I'm sure it would just be like, but the other thing is like when you get to whatever plane you're going to, I doubt that you're going to have any need for feces.
No, not need. Yeah. But would you have like an avatar of what you were when you left here? And if so, would you have half a turd hanging out for the rest of eternity?
Oh, so like there's a husk that's left behind that's like a robot. Or like
no, I mean when you show
shell.
up. Yeah, when you show up to where you're going, the next dimension, would your avatar be what you were when you ascended?
So I feel like we've been beating around this bush for a long time, Kyle, and I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk about heaven.
Oh,
what do you think?
We've done that, haven't we?
No, not exclusively.
Oh, okay.
So here's what I think was my angle on heaven.
All right.
That I want to kick this off with is
All
that.
right.
And let's we're not going to put any type of Christian religion, I don't know why I said that one to not target anybody specifically. But I don't want to put like a religious connotation on it. I'm thinking more like a perfect eternal universe where nothing feels bad, everything feels good. We have no negative impulses. We all share, there's empathy, we all understand.
So you're saying like a good place if there is life after death. Is that what you're saying?
Well, but I'm also drawing like I'm setting important parameters for like biological mechanisms. Like you won't have anxiety, you won't have depression, you won't have any issues related to your mental health, and biologically you won't have any. You can eat. So here's what I'm saying is like you could eat food. I guess this is my heaven.
I see where this is going.
I think this is my heaven. Is you can eat food, and you don't have to, but if you want to, you can, and you can enjoy the gustatory sensations, and the pleasures will come over you, and you'll feel them. But then you don't have to poop, but if you want to, you can. So the reason that all this incredible dialogue got started, the jumping off point, was that if you transcended your mortal shell whilst in the middle of sawing a snake off, that you may not need to go wherever you want to, but if you want to poop there, you can, because it's all about pursuing what makes you happiest.
Now,
assuming that doesn't hurt anybody else or yourself.
Now, would you have to eat the fake not needed food in order to produce a fake not needed poop?
Oh, so like, can you? Are you just like a Play-Doh? Like, are you just rolling Play-Doh?
That's what I'm asking. Like, can you just sit and poop indefinitely without ever eating?
So in this scenario that I've set the parameter, I've begun to set the parameters for, I think the answer is yes. I think that if you were a hedonist if you were a scato hedonist and you wanted to poop for the pleasure of it, I think that would be available to you for all eternity.
Okay.
And I think there would be no plumbing that would ever jam you up.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
No.
Can you imagine?
I don't think that's possible for me. I have not met a toilet I haven't conquered yet.
There are toilets out there that I think, I guess it's better. It's like the unsuspecting. It's like the unknown. They don't know you. They don't know the potential trauma and the amount of danger that you pose to them. But then again, you also don't know that fear of potentially being left in a place where your cheeks get caked. You get a reverse upside down. What do they call the donuts that have chocolate on top?
I don't know.
Like
chocolate donuts
with like the eclairs or something.
That's a thing. I don't know what it is. But
well, I was trying to say that if the poop like fills up the bowl so much that it cakes on, it's like a reverse upside down choco.
Well, you're painting me as a toilet bully. I don't go around just fucking up toilets. I pick and choose my battles. I don't want this anymore.
No, you are a scato strategist. I know this because we've talked about this, that you size up the mark. You go and you circle the block for several weeks in advance, taking increasingly invasive pictures into the location until. Yeah. Go ahead.
I check out the model number. I got to make sure that it's current. Anything older than 10 years is not going to be able to handle it.
Oh, no, dude. They do the golf ball test. They need to do the savage test where they just bring you in and they're like, go ahead, do your worst. And you're like, all right.
Yep. Hit it with a test flush. If it takes more than a second and a half to flush, it's not happening. Gotta have a plunger.
Is that the requirement, a second and a half?
Yep.
Okay, but what about PSI? What about the vortex? What about the centrifugal force? Like, how much is required?
A second and a half. It's all factored in. Like, you flush it and it just goes.
You're not factoring in the weight or the volume or the consistency or the texture or the effect of gravity for that day, the barometric pressure?
No. Well, I mean, the higher up in a building, the better because of gravity.
You're a brave man. Or maybe you're doing all those calculations like below your conscious threshold. And so there's a chance that you are doing those, but you already, maybe that's the anxiety you feel whenever you can't go somewhere, is that you've done those calculations subconsciously and you're like, this will end badly. I can't tell you why, but I have this gut feeling.
I wouldn't say I ever have anxiety about
Lower
pooping. Gut. I just don't do it because I know it'll end bad. Is that the same thing? It's not like I'm nervous.
I think that is the same.
Is it?
I don't ever not poop because I have anxiety. I just don't poop if I have anxiety.
Well, let's say no. I don't poop out of respect for the homeowner. Okay, if I was at like a Circle K on a road trip and I looked at that toilet and I knew it couldn't handle it, I would destroy that toilet. I don't care. But out of respect for the homeowner, if we're somewhere, I'm not going to destroy their toilet and make them pay $1,000 plumbing fee.
You know what I just realized? I think that your entire life, this whole business we've been talking about, the business, the bell end business. I think that if you purchased a porta dumper, or as they're called at Thunder over Louisville, Kentucky, Thunder Pots, which I think are really great. You could just imagine just the images that conjures, like the thunder and the lightning and the damage done from the endless amount of funnel cakes and cheap food. I think you need to get a Thunder Pot or porta dumper or whatever your colorful name is installed in your house, because that is just a vertical. It's an open, or just get like an outhouse installed or just get an outhouse in general. Just dig a hole in the backyard, put a metal frame around it.
That's gonna smell real bad.
Well, yeah, to the modern society, but to a feudal society like in medieval, that was like people would just throw it out in the streets and wash down the drain due to the lack of indoor plumbing. Like you have to understand contextually that you're pursuing your greatest happiness, which I think that you voiding without fear of recourse from the owner is a real boon to you.
So you're telling me if I was at someone's house and I had to shit and I decided to take my porta dump on their backyard, you think they'd rather there be a pile of Kyle shit in their backyard than in their toilet?
So here's the deal. Here's the deal. As a side story, when I went and got COVID tested, the guy that gave me the information who did it had Biden eyes. You know, like those, like if you were to cut off his, the lower and the upper, and you just had like a slit where his eyes were, those like kind of gentle but piercingly blue old man wrinkly eyes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, it just reminded me that
he's wearing a mask, right?
He was. Yes, but that's the thing. Like I could only see. Like,
maybe it was Biden. Maybe he's doing the test himself.
Thank God.
To make sure they're happening.
Off of Dixie Highway in Louisville, Kentucky. What a good man. Truly a leader.
He's came far.
Anyway, so that just reminded me. But anyway, I know because you're a man of etiquette. You're a man of social responsibility. You're not just going to dump off. You are going to ask permission. You're going to bring a little trowel with you. You're going to dig a hole. You're going to bring several plywood slats. You're going to set up a roaming interface, and you're going to fertilize. And you're going to do that as a respectful give and take.
I think that if I'm asking permission, I'm going to get a lot of no's. I don't think anyone's going to be okay with me shitting in their yard.
Well, what if you framed it more as like a hypothetical and then you asked for forgiveness?
What do you mean?
So you were like, hey guys, this is a cool party. What do you guys think about yard pooping? Like, it's not just any yard pooping, but like yard pooping done in an ergonomically, in a cleanly, hygienic way where it only serves to benefit my mental health as well as the local fauna and flora in your ecosystem of your backyard. And what if the owner's like, oh yeah, I'm into that, but you don't explain, then you go do it.
I think the owner would be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Like, I deuced in your yard, man.
I think I got a pretty good routine going.
But I've been there at the moments where it strikes you worst.
Oh yeah, the other day at that party. But I got over it. You see how it was done. It was over.
Yeah, but I was there in the trenches with you, watching you quiver and shake and deal with the reality the reality of the situation.
Mostly it was because I had 3 pounds of gummy bears floating inside of me.
Yeah, the Black Forest.
Yeah.
Still waiting on that endorsement.
Yeah.
Mott's or Black Forest.
Either will be fine.
We will take either of you to the ball. We're not picky.
Yeah. I need gummies.
Guppies.
I need gubbos.
Gubbos for my gubby.
All right. Well, this episode wasn't actually supposed to be about poop, but but we're here now.
No, I was simply trying to open the door into my perception of heaven.
Oh yeah, heaven.
So I love George Carlin's conception of heaven because he says one thing that I love. There's a lot of uncles in heaven, or in hell. I'm sorry. There's a lot of grandparents and uncles in hell. But I love like this from one of his stand-ups where he says, like, first of all, when people say, I bet they're smiling down at me right now. Mm-hmm. He's like, first of all, there is no up there. Okay. Second of all, how do you know that they're not staring up at you from hell, screaming in agony? I bet grandma's down there screaming up in agony at me right now, which I love.
No.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, like, I love that. And I mean, that's a very obviously cynical viewpoint. I know that you and I both kind of like, I think we both hope that either the simulation continues or that we come back and, there is some. Well, so I was reading with Ram Dass, like the Buddhist kind of the mantra is that, whenever you, in the moments before you die, if you have any earthly connections, you will stay. Like you will get put back into that like kind of that lottery ball shuffler in the cosmos, and your number will come up and you'll come back as something related to the attachments you have while you're dying, which is actually why there's a practice that certain people follow where they begin cutting out certain, I don't know if we've talked about this, like they cut out certain things.
I think we have.
Yeah, like several weeks before they'll like stop eating a certain food, and they'll stop wearing certain clothes, and they'll stop until they have no attachments earthly when they're passing, because they want to break that chain. They don't want to come back.
They want to go to nirvana.
Yeah, they want to go to the spirit world, to the hereafter, whatever that is. But yeah, I mean, anyway, heaven is an interesting concept because it's like a place where everything's perfect, but it's like so the thing that I always say is like a utopia is that it's a utopia and a metopia, which is where you kind of went before, like about, being able to eat without it having any consequence. Oh my God, dude. Oh, that would be so great.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
I can.
Can you imagine?
I mean, we can't be too far off. I mean, probably not in our lifetime, but we can't be too far off of just like a simulation, like going into a simulation where you can taste things and you can just eat whatever you want.
Oh,
that
would be like going and like plug something into your face or your cheeks or like.
Honestly, with Neurolink, the Elon Musk thing, it's going to be attached to your brain. It can probably stimulate the signals,
Oh,
yeah.
That would be, and you could just eat and eat and eat, and you would feel it, and then you left, and then it was like you never ate anything at all.
Yeah, because I mean, all the feelings you get from eating are brain signals. So like, if something could just stimulate those parts of your brain, yeah.
Oh, I obviously think that eating eternally without any consequences would be optimal.
Yeah.
I want there to be no consequences for any of my dietary behavior. I want to be able to eat endlessly without consequence, without there being any problems, without there being any weight gain, without there being any ensuing, destruction. And then but again, that's like kind of like that view of heaven is like you can do anything and you can indulge and you can partake in everything and there's no consequences. But it makes me wonder, like, surely even a perfect place has consequences.
You think?
So when I was talking earlier, you think?
Your turn again.
Good contribution, Kyle. Oh, I don't know. What do you think? Well, I mean, it's like even empathy, which means to suffer with or suffer beside, is like you are internalizing somebody else's unhappiness, which allows you to see through their eyes and view things through their worldview. Like that has negative consequences. Like, yeah, it has obviously a superior, better consequence of you being a better person who cares and is more worldly and who genuinely can project themselves on other people's positions and see them and reach across the aisle and greet them as an equal. But there's also the very negative that's like you are experiencing their unhappiness and their unpleasantness. So, I mean, like, that's a consequence. Like, not a huge one, and ultimately doesn't tip the scales, I think. But
yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel like heaven, like, if you think of a perfect place, it can't really be perfect because things, like, everything that's really good ends up, you just get used to it, So, I feel like, what are you laughing at?
I love that idea is that if we had a perfect world and we would get bored of it.
We would.
That's just that's like such textbul human behavior.
Like how long would it take for like the idea of what everyone thinks of heaven? How long would it take before you're actually bored of that?
Define boredom.
Wanting something more.
Okay, wanting something more. I don't know, because if heaven is endless and it's endlessly generative and you can like, I want to go skydiving. I want to go skydiving upside down next time. I want to, like, if we're talking about a realm of infinite possibilities, I think that there's so many variables. I mean, I see what you're saying though.
Do you still get your rush in heaven from chemicals in your brain, or is it something else?
That's a good point, because adrenaline serves a function biologically, and it's to prepare. It's fight or flight. It's to prepare your body,
mm-hmm.
And it also really, Ooh.
If it's something else, then it could last forever. But if it's the same old chemicals, eventually.
Well, obviously, I don't think there's any way to rectify our anatomy and biology and neurology with something as like a chimerical as heaven or something like that. So, I mean, I think you're right. I think that, if there was an infinite amount of time and you could do an infinite amount of things, you either are or you're not. You either will get bored or you won't get bored. But I like to, I don't know. That's a good question. And then it's like, what happens then? Like what is then the if in eternity there's no point to really contrast and measure at any other point, like what's next?
You think there's like a super heaven for when you die in heaven?
Like a bonus stage,
yeah,
like a bonus level.
That's where that's what God keeps talking about.
No, he's like, well, if you guys are really good in here,
if you guys go to heaven church all the time,
heaven church,
give me all your heaven bucks.
Make sure it's like a Chuck E. Cheese. Like, make sure you're praying the prayers and saying doing the catechisms and reading the different Bible and the different books and cash in your God tokies, and you'll go to ultra heaven. Oh man, what is ultra heaven?
I don't know, the next step up. I don't
know.
If
everything is perfect and everything is like
we can't conceptualize
everything is okay. So I was reading my existentialist survival guide, and that is actually an argument that people that used to discredit atheism. If people say like, if a fool says that God is beyond conception, then that means that everything that exists is by a God we can conceive, and that for him to say that kind of negates the argument of saying there isn't one, because then you're saying there has to be one because everything exists. And it's like, no, I think we can conceive of it. Let's try.
All right, you first.
You're a fucking ass. Give me something here, Kyle.
I just gave you all of heaven. What do you mean?
You're like, nope. You're like shuttlecocking it back to me. Just like keep a volley going. Stop shuttlecock. Stop
all right,
spiking
ultra
the
heaven. Let's see. Maybe the devil's there too.
Your serve. What? Oh, maybe the devil's okay.
He's not in regular heaven. That's something that's missing.
That's true. That actually, maybe ultra heaven is more like purgatory. No, because purgatory is like a gray, like
yeah, it's in between.
Yeah. Okay, so then ultra heaven exists technically if we're doing a vertical slice, like if heaven and then below that is the earthly sphere and then below that is the hellish sphere. Then I guess it's like, would it be above heaven or be off to the side, like as an abstract? Like,
I would
like
think it'd be above heaven, but if heaven's perfect, I don't know.
Maybe ultra heaven is for the people that are morally irresolute and are more circumstantial rationalists. They don't see everything in absolute, so they can go to ultra heaven and maybe do a little what some people would consider deviant and sinful behavior, but is more. So maybe it's more like ultra heaven is more like earth.
Maybe we're in ultra heaven.
Oh my god! I was trying to lead us that way.
Oh. Sorry.
No.
Spoilers.
No, that's perfect.
Oh.
There's a lot of school of thought, especially like Eastern school of thought that's like this is heaven. Like Bo Burnham has a great song like what if life on earth could be heaven? Isn't just the thought of it worth a try? I love that because it's like what if life here is heaven? Like not for everybody all the time, but like it's definitely got elements of heaven and hell in it.
Yeah. And I mean, if everything's perfect, then, nothing's really perfect. But the fact that there is so much suffering in life when something is really good, you get to appreciate it,
Mm.
So, yeah. Maybe
and ultra heaven does have tickets. We have all kinds of establishments that provide all type of microcurrencies that you can exchange money for and then exchange other retail wholesale goods that they give you in exchange for your exchanged currency.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Saying like the Rat Palace
mm-hmm.
and Pizza Palace. They always have pizza. Dave & Buster's. Does Dave & Buster's have pizza?
I would say so. I've never been to Dave & Buster's.
I've been there one time, and it was for a friend's birthday. And she took an edible gummy that someone gave her, and she was not able to enjoy her birthday party.
Aww.
So we all went out anyway. She went home.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that story had a sad ending, but it's okay. Everything's fine
It's
now.
a great birthday party.
I know, but we went to Dave and Buster's, and we had a great time, and we got her a bunch of gifts, and exchanged our currency for their microcurrency, and then traded that for their resellable goods.
Interesting.
You know, it makes me wonder, like in the microeconomic world, like who sets the prices for those goods in there? Because like ultimately, are they given a credit for those goods? Like, because there's like you can win like iPads and game systems in there.
I'd say Dave has something to do with it.
You think that's purely in the Dave domain, that Buster has nothing to do
Buster's
with it?
definitely dealing with the games.
Dave does sound more like a discipled businessman.
Yeah.
But Buster, you wouldn't go to Buster for like taxes or for like divorce papers.
No.
No, that's a Dave. Yeah, Buster would be like, whoa, come people pizza, have a beer. You don't want Dave doing that.
No.
Dave's like, you got divorced. Here's your papers and a beer.
Oh, Buster's just the adult Chuck E. Cheese.
It is, absolutely. But I love that, like, in Chuck E. Cheese, like, he's the monarch. But, like, there, it's like a shared, it's like a binarch. Like, it's not a monarch, like mono. It's not a Bismarck. It's like a bimarchy. It's like two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that would be called. It's not an oligarchy because it's not a group. It's like a binarchy.
A pair.
A pairarchy? A pair of monarchies.
A parakeet. A parakeet.
A parakeet.
There it is.
Oh, I love it. So yeah, man, what a good transition. We went from heavy poop to pooping in tall cotton in the Everglades of heaven.
Mm-hmm. Man.
What you got for us, Kyle?
I don't know. I'm pretty tired.
I know, I could tell. And you chose to have a special drink.
Yeah. It's tradition at this point.
It is tradition.
It's this or a pitcher of coffee, and I need to be up in 12 hours.
A pitcher of coffee.
Wait, no, I need to be up in like 11 hours.
Yeah, you know what? If we ever get big enough to begin merchandising, like you have to have like Kyle's pitcher of coffee, and it's just like because you're using a Mountain Dew like 2-liter mug from a gas station. You need to get one with your. Well, no one has seen the illustrations I've done of us, like our little face caricatures.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've been working on that intro for months along with our ad.
Yeah, is that going in the ad? The animation thing?
Oh,
the ones you drew?
You know what? It could go at the end or the beginning. I wanted to put it at the beginning as like the card, like the intro to every episode.
Okay.
But it still obviously needs work.
A little bit.
Okay.
I think it looks great.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I put a lot of heart and soul and a little bit of some plasma, some tears, maybe some grease.
I keep on getting ads on Facebook to donate plasma.
Dude, they know you're a gold mine, Kyle. They know that you've got delicious blood plasma.
I guess.
Do you know what the process for that is?
Yeah, I mean, you sit in a chair and they like suck out your blood, then they take the plasma out of the blood and put it back in.
That is accurate.
And then you get cookies.
Good job.
You get cookies, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and money.
And money.
I forgot.
It actually, I think like the first time you get like $60 to $100, and then it's like a decreasing scale after that. Like, and you can only do it like twice a month apparently.
No,
because
I thought it was like twice a week.
No. That's terrible for you. Also, it's like a 4-hour process where the blood is drawn out and then it puts in a centrifuge. They separate it and then it's
Have you done this before?
Dialysis. No. So my mom, as we've talked about, when she was two stories. One, my mom when she was younger, she was very poor and had my older brother. She chose to do that in order as a quick way to make money. And so she told me about their experiences doing that and how very unpleasant it was.
Does it hurt?
It's a big needle because they get a lot of the blood out, and it just takes like you're just hooked up with a needle IV in your arm for like 4 hours.
Ooh.
But The other reason I know a little bit of information is that at my previous job, something much less depressing is that there was the clinic manager previously. She came from a dialysis company, and so she told me about it, like how the techs, all the equipment, the $100,000 equipment they use, and like the processes and the needles and.
What does that have to do? What does that have to do with dialysis? Is that the process?
So dialysis is where, it's like where they take your blood out, they infuse. They either take your blood out that's. Dialysis has many different purposes, but the main understanding is that if you have sickle cell anemia, if you have bad blood or if you have blood that's, you have a blood disorder disease that attacks itself, you can take that blood out and then put in the same blood type that you have that's healthy blood.
Oh.
So that's kind of like you're hooked up to a dialysis machine that either gives you new blood or filters out stuff or adds stuff in and then filters it back in.
Okay.
So it's kind of that, it's in that same realm of like,
I just thought dialysis
intravenous
was like
phlebotomy.
failed kidney treatment. I didn't realize it was that process.
No, it's an entire process where you take the very important sap of your life and you put it into a thing in front of you and watch it spin around. Very precarious. That's a great time to contemplate heaven.
Yeah. You could be saving someone from going there.
But maybe no. That's a dark way to look at it. Yeah, no, that's very true. It is. And yeah.
Wonder if anyone makes a full-time living off of donating plasma.
Well, my understanding is that a lot of people will do it like, better people will do it if they need like a quick infusion or if they a lot of people do it to donate because they know that people need plasma.
Mm-hmm.
But it usually disproportionately is patroned by the lower socioeconomic class. Because it's a way to make money for basically nothing. Like you don't have to do anything other than like, hey, I don't have like drugs in my body currently. Will you take the gold that I have, the liquid gold that I have? It's like the Velveeta of the body. Because Velveeta is called liquid gold.
I'd give it a shot. They're probably closed during working hours though. So.
Oh, during your working hours.
Yeah.
I think some facilities are open late, but yeah, I think that because you have a full-time job, you probably don't need to do that.
I don't need to do it. I just mean for the experience, for the lulz.
Maybe we could do it together and see.
Can we ask if we can hold hands while we do it?
Yes.
Can they take blood from the hands that are holding?
Oh, I don't like that at all.
Why not?
Oh.
No, I mean the arms that are.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like
actual.
No, but they do
straight from the fingernails.
No, so my mom, as we talked about, has like that. Again, this is kind of not a super happy thing, but she has been in the hospital a lot because of her blood. Which I can't remember now. It's like thrombo. It's like basically her blood, the T cells attack, their white blood cells attack her T cells, which prevent her blood from clotting. And then if she gets a bruise or anything, she could bleed internally. And it's terrible. Yeah, it's a lifelong thing. But she has been in there, and they do stick anywhere. They like if they can't get the veins, they will do it in the hand. They'll do it in the foot. They'll do it. Yeah,
for 4 hours having a needle stuck in your
Well,
hand?
no, not for dialysis, but just to get blood or to give you intravenous like saline and stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, when you said that, I was like, oh my God, yeah, they can do that, and I don't want that. But yeah, we should hold hands and we should kiss.
Okay. My mom. What?
Go on.
You think I won't kiss you?
You think I'm a bitch?
You think I'm gay? I'll kiss you.
I'll a real man kiss on the lips.
My mom
Fat
did that
boy.
for a while. She did plasma until they figured out that she had an iron deficiency, and they told her she couldn't come back.
Oh no, she was giving them bad blood.
Yeah.
Or bad plasma, I guess.
Yeah.
Or I wonder if that's a health thing. Like,
Yeah,
they
I don't
want to
think
take her plasma.
I think that it was fine. Like, I think the shit she was giving was okay, but it was a risk to her to keep doing it.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yup.
Speaking of which, how's Fat Boy doing?
Oh, I don't know. I hung out with him for that 1 week, and then I was with a really cool dude the next week, and I'm on my own now.
So for those of you who haven't listened to that episode, the title of that episode, the subtitle is Fat Boy's Lament. But Kyle was being trained at his new job as a explosive preventer at a city block leveling preventer by a large, angry, very homophobic, very Appalachian American man.
Yeah.
And he would make comments that kind of, I think, belied his masculinity. Like he'd be like, "Yeah, I bet dick probably tastes gross." Not that I'd think about it or anything. You probably think about it. No, it was never overt like that. But that's why I wanted to know if he had any more run-ins with him.
No, I think ever since I convinced him I'm gay, he's done really good to avoid me. Which was the plan.
He's like, that's cool and all. Like, that's totally fine. I bet, tell me, is it delicious? Does it taste like sausage?
Just let me know. I'll never fucking do it. Just let me know.
No, just hit me up every night. If you want to, here's my number on a call. You're queer. You call me.
Call me queer. Oh, yeah. I hope I never see him again.
Yeah, that seemed like a generally unpleasant experience.
Yeah, he was like, he even told me, like, after being around him for like 4 days, he referenced me to someone else and didn't use my name. And he was like, "Yeah, I don't know your name. I don't learn anyone's name till they're here for like 6 months because they just quit so quick." And I'm like, "I don't learn my name, please." I would much rather.
Did that as like a diss to you, but you're like, "Great,
that's fantastic,
wonderful."
I don't know if you're going to be alive in 6 months, sir.
It might be good. You might want to save that energy on surviving.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good. I mourn for the separation in your relationship.
Yeah, it's very sad. Today though, I was on my own for the first day, and I didn't tell you this. So when we spray the ground, you know how we spray the paint on the ground when we locate the lines? Oh yeah. You see the lines everywhere with the flags.
Yeah, it's so cool.
I know. So they teach you how to spray the paint, right? I mean, it's pretty easy, but you practice it a little bit. But there's a gun you put it in. There's like you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So I realized today I've sprayed paint many times in training, but I've never loaded the gun with a fresh new can. Oh. And so I just threw it in there because I assumed it'd be really easy, and immediately I was covered in yellow.
Oh no.
Yeah, dude. Right on my dick too. Oh. Like just so my jeans are all dorked.
Classic big bird cock.
Yeah. So I went around, yellow stands for gas. So I went around telling everyone I was gassy today.
That's adorable.
Yeah, it's a very specific joke.
That's so niche. You won't get it. You won't get it. Are you a gas hipster?
Mm-hmm. A gister.
You're like, hey, I was gonna tell you a joke I tell with the boys out in the field, but you wouldn't get it.
Out in the field.
You wouldn't get it.
So I went to do this first ticket, my very first ticket ever, and I was expecting it to be, easy because it's my first ticket ever. And instead of locating like 2 things for the ticket, which normally you'd locate like the electric service and the gas service from a house for something, in the scope of this ticket, I had to locate like 13 lines.
Wow.
And I got 12 done and realized the 13th didn't work.
Didn't work?
The tracer wire connected to the gas service wouldn't run.
You're on like a snipe hunt?
Huh?
You're like on a... Do you not know what that means?
No.
Snipe hunt means like chasing a mythical animal that doesn't exist. Like,
oh.
It's like...
Yeah, kind of.
Oh. Yeah.
It existed for the first part of the yard. So I hooked into it and got halfway through the yard, and then the signal went away.
So your first genuine task as an independent contract, on your own, was impossible for you to complete?
Not only was it impossible for me to complete, I realized it was impossible after working on it for 3.5 hours.
Oh my God.
And so I
But
called,
you did all the other work.
Yeah, I did. I would have had to anyway, because I called the guy above me to come out and check it out, and I was afraid he was going to show up and just find it immediately. And he came in and did exactly what I did. He was like, "Yep, unlocatable." And I was like,
he was gonna hitch up his britches, put his tongue in his mouth, his tongue in his mouth. He's gonna put. You're never gonna believe this. He put his tongue in his mouth. He's gonna put a finger on his tongue in his mouth and press it to the earth and be like, "Kyle, it's right here.
It's right here, you dumbass." Stick his ear to the ground and listen for it.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, you hear that? No, she's over there.
There's a tracer wire
next to the Cherokee tree."
Yeah, no, but yeah. So that was cool. And that's what I did today.
Yeah, I have. Well, that sounds interesting. That sounds like Oh, Bonesaw.
Who?
It's not a podcast anymore. It's a free for all.
It's a fart cast.
It's a poop cast. So I have actually been off work yesterday and today because I woke up yesterday not feeling the best. and I I was like, oh, maybe I have a little bit of the COVID. So just the touch.
It's the touch of the COVID.
Just the touch. Dude, that is
what?
Hard to stomach, Kyle.
I know COVID's a really scary thing.
I'm talking about
you don't need
talking about bone saw. Jesus Christ. Diversify your diet.
What do you
Get your
mean?
foot off the cable.
It's the fuck master.
Get your foot off the fucking $200 audio interface. Get your foot off the fuck master.
Somehow, I always find a way to put something on
I
that.
know you're always like, God, get your dick out of the back of the fuck man. You're like, what do you mean? It's in the name.
Oh man, what do you mean diversify my diet? I've been eating protein pancakes.
Okay, let me say this. Maybe you should restrict your diet, but change the incoming stimuli, because that beef is very strong.
Like less protein?
Yeah.
No, fuck you.
Okay. So I have not been working because I had a COVID scare and I had to get tested, and I came back negative. I passed my test by not having it.
Hell yeah! You got an F on your COVID test.
Yes, and that is in COVID world. That is a passing grade.
Ooh. Wow.
Wow. It is weighted. It is like the heaviest weight, because if you get an A, you actually lost. You actually did not pass the course.
The thing that sucks about getting COVID is, I mean, because, most people that get it are perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all the follow-up shit you have to do. You're going to have to go get like 3 more tests before you're allowed to live with people again, like go back out into the world. And you're actually in charge of contact tracing now, because they say they can't keep up. So you have to call everyone you've been around.
Oh my God, that's crazy. And tell everyone, like, at least, you know what? I think that new age, to add a little bit of levity to this otherwise dire and just strenuous situation, is, back when you had like herpes or the clap or, some syphilis.
Yeah, back then.
Just a touch, back then. Back then, the undocumented, back then, undifferentiated time period. In the before days, you'd have to call people and be like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I gave you the clap," and that was pretty much the end of your relationship.
Oh yeah,
and now, of course, and now it's like, "Hey, I remember when we hooked up. You may have, I may have given you something." She's like, "Oh my God, what is it?" And you're like, "I don't really want to say it, but I'll tell you the first letter." You're like, "It's a C." She's like, "You gave me crabs." And you're like, No. The second letter is an O. She's like, "Oh
no.
We shan't be seeing each other anymore." But this did not have the effect on me that it would have had this been a venereal disease.
You remember when I coughed into your open mouth?
No.
It's COVID.
When did you do that?
No, I'm saying in the scenario.
Oh, I thought you were telling me. I was like, if you coughed into my open mouth, I would have been very aware of that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you would have been that upset. You think so? You spit into our best friend's wife.
I forgot about
You remembered that?
I don't think we've told that story.
Dude, I still have that snapshot. Not even a snapshot, because it's a video. It's a little like old MP4 video playing in my head, and it's in slow motion, because I see her turn happy, smiling, and you turn happy and start talking, and just one big glob of spit arcs into the air and just bloop straight into her mouth.
Straight in the old
never to be
pie
seen
hole.
Again.
Dude, yes, I think it was Zach there when that happened, or was he away? And then we told him he came back. No, he wasn't there.
He wasn't like standing there, but he was at the event. What was the event? Was it a music festival? Okay.
Yeah. Which is a metal and rock, a really awesome metal and rock, huge concert.
Huge.
Bigly. Time in Louisville, Kentucky. And we saw, you can see local bands like Ozzy Osbourne and Zakk Wylde and Pantera. No, they weren't there.
Actually,
were they there?
The lead singer of Pantera was there. Paul Alissimo or some shit. You remember that?
No.
You probably don't. I pointed out though. I was like, "That's the lead singer of Pantera."
Oh, I do. And was he doing poetry or like an acoustic set or something?
I think he was singing. He's doing.
Was he doing slam poetry?
he was doing metal.
Respect.
What do you say? Oh, dude.
But yeah, and I spit, and that became a. We didn't say, "Oh, I spit onto your wife." It was, "I spit into your wife." I spit inside of your wife,
and it makes him very uncomfortable when he hears that. So.
I know, I love
you're
it.
welcome.
If you're listening, I'm so sorry. And to your beautiful, amazing, God-sent angel of a wife,
even more sorry.
I am even more sorry. That was pure, unadulterated entropy in the universe, and you just happen to be happy at the wrong place.
That teaches you to be happy.
that'll learn you.
Oh.
You should have looked around and seen all the angry, torn off T-shirts and the jeans with the chains hanging out, and you would have known that was no place to be happy at.
Ugh. I can't wait for Loud Life again.
Oh, me too.
Ugh.
I can't wait for life in general again.
Yeah. I've been loud in solitude.
I feel like
I'm ready to be loud in life.
I feel like we've weathered it pretty well.
Yeah.
For the most part, other than some crushing existential anxiety.
Yeah. I think it's going to be more of those. I think we're handling it fine, but I think when things open back up and things are back to normal, we're really going to appreciate things for what they are, because we've gone so long without them. It's like we've been grounded for a year and a half, you know?
Grounded by our biology.
Yeah, man.
Grounded by a virus.
Yeah.
Dude, you know that's also, and this is a really awful, just terrible comparison to make, but it makes me feel like we, as the world, has just experienced like a massive war where like everything was torn apart and we were like living in shanties, and like it's not like that at all. But it feels like we have not been able to reach. Carl's just nodding his head.
There's actual places like that.
I know, and I'm sorry. I'm trying to evoke that like things are not the way they should be, and they haven't been.
Yes.
And I think that when they return to that way. Okay, let's not say like, or maybe like just a big cataclysm, like we've been grounded by Space Daddy, and we're not allowed to do things as we should.
Yeah.
I think it'll feel really good to be able to just, stroll down the street in my birthday suit like I used to.
Yeah, man. Like go to a pool or go to a beach.
Oh, I forgot all about beaches. I forgot that our continent is on all sides and is just trapped in water.
There's water out there, man.
I forget about that. Why? Because we're inside this room in this house in the city.
Wow.
Except for like Utah, where they have like infinite reminders because they have a bunch of lakes.
Oh yeah, where are we gonna go? Remember we were planning on going to Denver, but there's no reason for that now. So where are we gonna go now?
North Carolina?
Oh yeah, we could do that.
I think we should go west.
Yeah, I want to go west. I've never been west. I've never been.
Let's go to Colorado. Or no, I'm sorry.
You know what? Fuck Denver. Let's go to Colorado instead.
Ooh. This is why I'm glad I did not get that what was the job called?
The TQL job.
No, but what was the position? It was like I was logistics, where I had to know I do know the geographical locations of place, but I'm still, it's still not locked in. But yeah, we should go to Oregon is what I meant to say.
I would love that.
You know what? I would love to take you. We should drive across the country. Just you and me. Get a van. We'll get a van. Right. We won't say bye to anybody. We'll just get in our car and we'll go and we'll drive through the night and through the day, having massive anxiety attacks from the incredibly inappropriate amount of amphetamines that we're drinking in the form of liquid sugar.
That's it.
And we will. That's just me.
That's just you.
I'm willing to do that for you
All
to
right.
get to where we're going, and we will get to. Oregon, and then we'll drive up to Washington through Seattle, and then we'll go to Vancouver, Canada, up through there, but you need a passport.
I'll get a passport.
Okay. Mine's about to expire, and it's not a great picture, so we'll get them together. Maybe we'll do a couple's passport.
Can you do that?
No, absolutely not.
Damn.
We could do it for the novelty of it, and then like, here you go, and they're like, sirs, this is literally not a legal document. Like, we're just goofs, dude.
Here's our passports, but you have to hold them right next to each other.
Make sure they don't get too far from each other.
They're in love, not us. We're not gay, but
they're in love. We just put them on top of each other.
The passports are in love.
I put Kyle's below mine because that makes sense.
On a power bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I need to look forward to leaving for a trip. Because I got nothing right now. We got nothing on the books.
Yeah.
I literally just had the epiphany that Denver is like not something that we need to do anymore.
I mean, we still can. It's beautiful there.
Yeah.
Like
But there was a good reason to go before.
There's still a good reason to go. Oh, so when we go to Oregon, there's lots of different things we need to do. I have some friends in Portland we need to see, and then we need to go to the beach, and it is freezing because I think it's the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, why would you want to do that?
Okay, so one of my favorite experiences of being an ignorant continent dweller, a central continent dweller, is that I just assumed that like all water was nice and temperate. And then I went there and I was like, and it was hot. Like it was like 70, 80 degrees. And I was like, oh, why is nobody in the water? Like, it's so warm today. And I like ran full. My buddy was like, oh, you've never been. You'll see. And I like ran, and there was like one crazy mad lad out there swimming, like a 50-year-old. You know, they're always like 50, have a wife beater tan line, and he's out there with his sunglasses doing breaststrokes. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that guy, and I ran in and I jumped in, and I immediately, like every cell of my body locked up. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, I get why nobody's in this.
How cold was it?
I mean, I don't know. It felt like it was like, obviously it was in like in 30s or 40s. I don't know.
You sure? I mean, if
water, it couldn't have been glacial temperature.
Yeah, I mean, if water's like, I don't even know the temperatures, but it's not what you would think. You would think that like 60 degrees. If you think of water as 60 degrees, you're like, oh, that's probably warm, but that's freezing.
That's like 20 degrees lower than our
temperature.
Okay. God, I see 30 degrees. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I was being a little bit of a little bit hyperbolic. It was probably like 60, 50, 40 somewhere.
Which like you wouldn't think would be that bad, but
probably
it is.
Like 20 degrees.
But that's good for your body, you know.
Yes. There's the Iceman who like
Chuck Liddell.
No. Isn't that like a balding, big, like Hulk Hogan mustache having like MMA fighter?
Yeah, I think his name was the Iceman.
No, there's like a guy.
I know.
And he like meditates. He like regulates his body temperature.
His name's
he's like Icelandic Scandinavian.
His name's he's got a weird name. Keep talking.
Terry
talk about something else and it'll pop in my head.
Okay. But yeah, anyway, I think we should plan a trip and go to. You know what? I realized. So when I was learning all the states,
Wim Hof.
Exactly. You did something. You're like, talk about anything else, and I'm like, well, I stubbed my toe. You're like, what? It just came to me. When I was learning all of the states for the logistics job, I got an app that I downloaded, and it's like a grid of the United States that's gray, and it would pop up a name. You said to tap where that state was, and if you got it wrong, it would show an X on the one you tapped and light up green. So it was really great visual feedback, and that's how I learned. I went from taking like 3 to 5 minutes to correct to identify where all the states in the continental U.S. were, down to a minute and a half. But I realized there's a lot of states that like I just on a daily basis just completely omit from existence.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I never think about Iowa, never think about North or South Dakota, never think about Minnesota, never think about Maryland, Maine, Idaho, like
who cares?
Kansas,
Why would you?
Arkansas.
I want to go. Let's go to Idaho and get a potato.
Oh, Kyle. Now that would be a journey. We could still go up to Washington from there and go up to Seattle from there.
Do you think that they think of potatoes in Idaho like we think of bourbon in Kentucky?
Oh, absolutely.
You think there's potato bars?
You go up there and you're like, oh, give us your finest potato.
I'll take a top shelf patati.
And they're like, oh, God, some spud searchers from out of town.
Fucking
tourists. I bet you're chasing the spud high, aren't you, boys? Oh, you
the
know
starchy goodness.
Give me the potato with a million eyes.
Can you French fry it, please?
We'll put it in the fryer for you. And they just come out and take like just one out of like no special potato off the bottom shelf and bring it out. And they're like, now listen here, lads, because they have an Irish.
Everyone in Idaho is Irish.
Oh, absolutely. Just being in close proximity, just living in the state lines of a place that's just replete with potatoes just changes your chemistry and your language. And so, like, they would just come out and be like, all right, you laddies, now this is the specialist, most ball potato in all of Idaho. Now, you boys, you're going to press you pretty penny. Do you have any farthings? Be like, well, we have U.S. currency. They're like, that'll do.
Oh, we'll accept it. In this, the United States.
In this, the continental United States.
Dude, I just remembered I'm sitting on about 6 pounds of potatoes back at the house.
Are you really?
Mm-hmm.
So you... The way that you diet and the way that you dive into diets, you are going to be in your own famine. Oh, you know what? We didn't talk about that on here. Oh my God. So like Kyle and I talk a lot about potatoes via text. It's like a foundation to our friendship. And in like the last year or so. And so I was texting about the potato famine. I just sent him a Wikipedia link, and he sent me like a cartoon, sad, but like just like a downtrodden, unhappy potato, and underneath it just says "sad potato." That is such an accurate depiction of a terrible blight on the Irish people. But you know what? I realized I was reading I was trying to be pretentious to say I read articles. I read Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Which I feel like in today's, like in 2020, like it's much more reputable than it was when we were in elementary school, and teachers would be like, you can't cite Wikipedia as a primary source because it's open-ended.
You can feel like that if you want.
I feel like it's a pretty decent, or it's moderated by people. Like there's people that make sure that the information, well, I don't know. Anyway, they always ask for money whenever we go there. So I kind of just avoid them, like people, like when people on the street do it. Like if they were like, hey, if you think, it'd be really nice, but instead they're like, we're dying. We need $2.
They've been saying that for 10 years. Like, if you want to keep Wikipedia free, please donate 52 cents.
Which honestly, maybe it is. Like if it's a free service, and who actually, I donated to Wikipedia several years ago. Like
Never have, and it's still free.
That's because I paid for your token. I paid for your admission to it.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm never going to pay. That's taught me I can be a freeloader.
Anyway, I just reinforced your behavior. Take Wikipedia away. Make people realize that things like NPR, like you have to pay. I don't donate regularly, but I try to like once every year.
It's not like they take it away. There would just be ads on the side. You'd just be scrolling through reading about your potato famine, and you see like something for Pornhub.
Yeah, it would be just like everything else now. You're listening on NPR, and they're like, and after a word from our sponsor, we'll come back to the Serbian crisis. And then it's like, hey there, do you like jerking off? Thank you. And a word from our sponsors. Now back to the Serbian crisis. Oh my God, dude, what a dude! I can imagine that world. Like I can imagine that. Like ads, like if you take the digital model of just saturating pages with like visual ads, like they're billboards that millions of people see. It's like, why wouldn't that be happening like everywhere else?
You know what I thought of? I was in Planet Fitness the other day, and when was that? You've been in there recently, right?
It was a month or so ago.
So there's a couple different kinds, but almost all of them exclusively have like
not the one up the road.
Dude, fuck that Planet Fitness.
Okay, I just want to say, so again, this podcast is based in Louisville, Kentucky, and if for those of you who are listening in Louisville, I live in Frankfort Avenue. Bonesaw, do not. You son of a bitch, Bonesaw, I'll get you for this. But I live in the Avenue. I live off Frankfort Avenue, and then it segues as you go. I don't know if it's north, south, east, or west.
It's one of those for sure.
And it segues into Shelbyville Road, and on there, it's only a couple miles from my house. There's a Planet Fitness, and every single time we drive by there, Kyle has a few disparaging words to say about a building, the artifice of the building. Like he doesn't know what it's like inside. He's never been inside. He drives by and he's like, yo, you see that piece of shit Planet Fitness? Fuck you.
Dude, it's just so ugly. It's not even ugly. It's just it looks so outdated. It looks like...
So you hate it?
I do hate it. I've been very clear about that.
Kyle, that's a very base primal impulse.
It looks like an early 80s retro building.
It looks like an 80s Taco Bell.
Yeah, there you go. You want to work out in an 80s Taco Bell?
It's all greasy already.
Jesus Christ.
All the workout equipment has like chalupas and tacos, like big plastic shit on the ends.
Honestly, it's not too far off from Planet Fitness with their donut days.
Ugh.
And fucking muffin days.
Hey, they're saying it's okay to break rank and to indulge. It's just being human.
They're wrong, though. I mean, it's okay, but it's going to keep you away from your goals.
True, but most people don't have ironclad Spartan senses of discipline and resolve, and they like to be in a place that supports the humanality and the common links between us, rather than being around a bunch of people that look like one giant bicep that's never touched a single sugar grain.
But do you notice how many people are actually like actually achieve their goals in Planet Fitness versus other gyms.
No, I've never seen any data on that.
Oh, it's none.
Is that the hard scientific
No,
consensus?
it's not none, but like you don't achieve your goals and get where you want to be by being comfortable and someone holding your hand and saying it's okay to be human. You gotta push yourself and not eat donuts while you work out.
Eat Donnies.
Donnies. Dude, seeing someone walking on a treadmill eating pizza is the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
I will say that pretty overtly seems counterproductive to me.
Like you literally would have to walk at the pace they're walking. You would have to walk like an hour and a half to burn off that slice of pizza. And I know they're not walking that long. They're walking for the duration of their pizza, and then they stop and go get another slice.
Oh my God, that's like the infinite treadmill. Like you just eat and you walk at a pace that's reasonable, and then you just. Oh,
What are you saying?
I'm saying that you could eat eternally, but you'd have to walk eternally to stay the same.
Well, you would have to sleep and somehow make money.
Yeah, you know what? This is seeming more in the realm of the John's Heaven kind of concept.
There's a
But in heaven, you would never gain weight. It would just be you would eat bad food for you, and it would make you ripped and make you cut.
Why would you need to be cut in heaven?
You're right. Everyone's attracted to you. Everyone's attractive. See, this is what I'm saying. It's more complicated than everything's good there. There's
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's impossible.
Well,
It's
and the
not.
other thing is like, yeah, it's like continue.
There's an episode of Black Mirror, and I know you don't like Black Mirror, but this
It
one
gives me crippling anxiety.
This one isn't even trippy. I like the ones that are like psychological.
Yeah.
That make you do psychological backflips. This one isn't really trippy. It's just a good story, but it takes place. Have you seen the one where they're all in like some weird? I mean, it's all about dystopian futures, but they're in like I don't know what the actual setting is, but they're in some sort of building or colony or something, and the way that they're keeping power going is people are cycling on like stationary bikes. And there's like a point system, and as you cycle you get points, and you spend these points on everything. That's the whole currency. And so as you're cycling, your points go up, and you spend those points on food and on accessories and all this shit. And have you seen that one?
No.
It's really interesting, but that just made me think of that when you said just infinite
So what's like so in like I really appreciate Dark Mirror for
Black Mirror.
Thank you.
Fucking
the dark surface. I really appreciate it for the science fiction of it. Like it's beautiful science fiction. It's very complicated. It's exactly what science fiction is supposed to be. It just makes me really uncomfortable because it seems so believable.
It is. That's the point. It's supposed to make you think.
It does. And so the other thing is like, so let's talk about that. Like if you have a society where people are exercising and exerting energy to sustain a society, let's say in like a nuclear fallout, like I wonder what I can imagine what the downside of that is. Like certain points, like, you know, certain people have infinite, they don't have to be a part of it. Maybe certain things shouldn't have a point cost, like, you know, amenities, access to medical care. Like I can see how, but what's the dark side of it?
I want you to watch it because it's not one that's going to. It'll give you a little anxiety, but it's not crazy like the playtest one.
Yeah.
You remember that one?
Ah, pibber.
The dark side is basically alongside of this whole building up points and everything. It's still very capitalistic. So there's advertisements and shit that pop up all the time for certain things. Okay. And if you want to skip, you can skip the advertisement, but it costs you points. So you skip the advertisement, but the main thing that everyone wants to be is like there's like basically an American Idol game show on there, and you can pay like an obscene amount of points for a ticket to get on that game show. And so that's like everyone's dream is to, you know, become famous, because if you get on the game show and you get chosen as like, you know, the judges give you a thumbs up for being talented or whatever, then you ascend to have your own TV show in this world, and you don't have to work out anymore on the bike. You know,
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We'll watch it.
Yeah, that does that. Well, and it's like a reverse lottery, because you know that book that they all make us read, or that short story of like the lottery in like a village, Did you ever have to read that in high school?
No, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, oh my God. So it's like a reverse lottery. So like in this book, I think it's just called The Lottery. It's a short story. It's like you go to this village and like everyone, and they talk about the lottery and being chosen, and people are like terrified of it. And you're like, well, that's weird. Like winning the lottery is a good thing. And then at the very end, and I don't know if there's a lot of lore behind it, if they're like, maybe I just don't remember it because it was back in like 4th grade, which is also kind of fucked up that it's part of the general education reading curriculum. And like, but like you read it and, at the very end, whoever wins the lottery, they have to go to the middle of town, and then everybody in town stones them to death. But I guess for population control, maybe it's like, I don't know if it even goes into that, like a Malthusian, like, we're in a society where people are more than I don't know if it goes into that, but it's interesting because it's like, oh, you won the lottery, you no longer have to participate in that. It's almost like, You know what I'm realizing as I'm saying now, like it's more like an actual lottery and like a reverse lottery compared to that village lottery, because real lottery does exempt you from the life because you get to do, assuming that you win a substantial sum.
Yeah. So the original point, Planet Fitness. Last time you were in there, did you notice all the TVs on the wall?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I had this thought when I was on the stairs the other day I went like an hour and 30 minutes the other day on the Stairmaster, and I was almost hallucinating. It was a bit.
Jesus.
Yeah, dude. I was going hard. But because when you wear a mask in there, too.
Oh, yeah. It's like an altitude mask because you can't get adequate airflow.
Yeah, and I'm just like fucking mouth breathing, so it's like soaked from perspiration. At a certain point, you're just waterboarding yourself. But anyway,
autoerotic
mouthboarding
in public.
Yeah. So anyway, I had this thought that in the future, like when you get the Neurolink thing installed, the Elon Musk mobile, everything's going to be so personalized. Like instead of like TV screens just being up there, it's going to be just like a blank screen. But when you look at it, you see an ad personalized to you. You know what I mean?
Like you're like an internal, like it's on your iris, like it's in your brain.
Which is when you look at the screen, like everyone could be looking at the same screen and they get their own ad playing that's personalized to them.
So that is actually like already happening. Like,
really?
Not like, not obviously to like it's projected onto your iris or like it's an internal thing that stimulates like there's a blue like a blank space in your brain or the whatever the interface projects that into only your vision and your cortex. But like when you like in the movie The Great Hack and the social dilemma about like Facebook and social media, that's everybody's individualized story because of the data mining that they do and the way that they look at your behaviors and they sell them to companies. Like I'm not on Facebook anymore. I think I got on there to maybe win a graphics card last week. I like posted and like something, but that's the first time I've actually done anything on there in like 2 years. But when if I was on there, like my feed would look totally different from your feed, would look totally different from somebody who has different values or different political beliefs. Like, because the activity that we do online is tracked and traced and then sold to companies that then sell ads to in the space that we, as that very specific niche demographic, would buy. And so it's already kind of happening. It's just, that would be the next progression of it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not super spooked. Like a lot of people, I think, are like, oh, whatever. Like, I think that like it's just the evolution of advertising.
Yeah,
like,
I'd be an Android. I will 100% get Neuralink if it's affordable, and
it won't be for a long time.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and proper trials have been done, but by the time I can afford it, it's gonna be definitely okay. There's this YouTube channel. I think it's called The Pursuit of Wonder. And this dude, have you ever seen that? This dude poses like great hypothetical questions and kind of walks you through scenarios, and they're like thinkers. It's like Black Mirror, except you got me thinking. I was like, is it Dark Mirror? It's like Black Mirror, except it's not like they're like 10 to 20 minute videos, and they're not like. Is
it just like general hypothetical rather than like dark? Like what if the dystopian kind of bent?
There's a little bit of both, but it's not some dude like narrating, like asking questions. It's a guy that like walks you through a scenario. Like, this is Bob, and then Bob went here, and Bob did this, and all this shit, and it gets you thinking. But anyway, you should watch it. But there was one of them that was he was talking about what at what point are you not human? Like when you start upgrading, when we start getting all these like prosthetics and stuff like that. So like the Neurolink, when it's a piece of your brain, you're still definitely human at that point. It's just a couple wires in your brain. But then like if you get like your arms replaced to lift more, still human because you're over half human, right? But then if you get your legs replaced and your body replaced, well, if it's still like your head, you're human, right? But then if you get like your jaw and stuff replaced and it's just your brain in there, are you still human? And then if you get half your brain replaced to work faster, at what point are you not human? You know what I mean?
That's so fascinating because I think that different people have different milestones for that. And I think that to some people, like even an arm or appendage, like even if, like how some people discriminate against, like paraplegics or people that have lost limbs or, how we like some people naturally will like, if someone has a distorted face or something, they're kind of, they kind of view them as not, interesting or exciting or worthy of social interaction. I think that some people are to do that. But I also, to me and I think that like it's the brain. Like I think it's like it's the brain in terms of like it's we're going back to the Turing test. It's like if the old Turing test is that if you were the way you would pass it is Alan Turing, the guy who created I believe the PC transistor, who was actually amazing, and he was actually. So I'm going to get this wrong, but Alan Turing, who created the first like PC, he and the first like operating system, he was gay and he was actually murdered, I think, for that, which is awful because he started the process that we all had, but that was I guess how things were in the 40s or 50s or 60s, whenever, or maybe it was later in the 70s, whenever it happened, but. That's just a dark piece of trivia that I know. Anyway, the point is that the original Turing test was that if you were writing on a piece of paper, you slid it under the door, and a computer, and the computer in there could generate a response and slide it back under the door, and it would seem human, and it made you think it was human. It passed the Turing test. Essentially, it was the test of AI, like human AI. So I mean, essentially, it's like at what point does something no longer pass? It's like almost like we're built to pass the Turing test. At what point do we no longer pass that? Or if we do, and it's so convincing, but we realize that it's not real, does that make us so uncomfortable that we still don't consider it human? Yeah. Because we're like, oh, well, you're not organic. You don't have organic memories or thoughts or anything else.
It's probably more of a comfort thing because, I mean, you can almost definitely program something to seem human. You know what I mean? I mean, you definitely will be able to in the future. I mean, in the future, everything that constitutes a human brain will be on a computer. You know what I mean? And there will be a human brain on a computer that you can talk to and have. It can have human interactions and stuff like that, but it's just not flesh, and that'll make people very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean that's already. I mean it's so funny because it's like we can't capture exactly what it means to be human. It's like there's so many, like even from a behavioral perspective, like you have words. Like let's just say we call them operants at the because they're a behavior response that has a functional relationship to the environment. So they operate on the environment. That's why I call them operants. And so you have operants, but then like operants are built into like operants are part of verbal behavior is part of a verbal community. So it's like with you, I will say like the bad words, and with my parents, I will also say the bad words. But in front of like an old other person, I might not, because in my verbal community, in that verbal community, it's so complex because we can just explain it like, yeah, that's inappropriate, but it's like, why is that inappropriate? Like, why do we know that that's inherently inappropriate? They're old. They've probably heard these words before. It shouldn't be inappropriate. But then you have things like respect and what's conventional and what society says. And it's like, it's just so difficult to program in that nuanced, multi-layered, nested complexity into something that doesn't, I guess, understand what any of those mean.
Yeah. It's difficult, but if you think about how long it's taken us to acquire that knowledge, the millions of years of evolution, it's not going to take nearly that long to get that on a computer.
No, that's true. I mean, what is it? The Moore's Law. Yep.
Is it Moore's Law?
Where it doubles.
Yeah.
That's Moore's. Oh, yeah, it's coming.
I love that. Mm-hmm. They're saying there is a chance that won't hold up, but it hasn't stopped yet.
No, I think we'll reach like Ray Kurzweil calls the synchronicity, where we will be integrating into, because we're like reaching that. But then there's also the chance that like we can only shrink things down so far. We can only move so far.
Yeah,
and
that's
going to be a
main-
bottleneck.
That's the main thing. But quantum computing's on the up and up.
The up and up.
The up and up.
It's ironic because quantum, there is no up. There's no down. It's just space and molecules.
That is ironic.
And that's so ironic.
I did that on purpose.
Oh, God, you're so witty.
I didn't do that on purpose. No, quantum computing is really cool, though, and they're making leaps and bounds, we'll say. Are there leaps and bounds in quantum mechanics?
Well, if you're going to accept Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, you can either know where something is or how fast it's going, but not either. Not both, and probably.
All right. So if you observe it, you don't know if it's a leap or a bound.
Exactly.
Dope.
That's one of my favorite Futurama jokes. Is like, you change the outcome by measuring it. It was like the oh my God, I haven't seen that show. Farnsworth, whatever the doctor's name is.
Farnsworth.
Yeah, it's like a quantum whatever, or it's like a thing, and they're like the racer finished in this amount of time. He's like, hey, you changed the outcome by measuring it.
That show's so witty and dumb.
It is, exactly. And it's also very like human.
Yeah.
There's a lot of real moments.
Yeah,
in it.
Futurama's one of my favorite. It's not just like Family Guy that's stupid. I mean, I love Family Guy, but I'm just saying like it's stupid humor.
Family Guy leaves you, you come away from it, and it's kind of like McDonald's. Like you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that was really funny and whatever, but it doesn't leave you with anything. But like shows like, I feel like by Matt Groening, like The Simpsons, Futurama, and the new one. What is the new one called? The one on one that our friend always, come taste my knees.
I have no clue. Give me another one.
He doesn't have to.
Is that, he just talks about tasting his knees.
You know, it's a guy. It's Princess Tiabini, and it's Disenchantment. It's on Netflix.
Oh.
Those shows always, I feel like, have a story to tell, and they leave you with some morality, and it's like there's bigger narrative that you're a part of. There's more characterization than just, oh, you're played for laughs, or you're going to say something inappropriate, or you're going to, this is just a big shtick. Like, there's heart to it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I don't watch much TV, though, anymore.
No, me neither. I don't watch any TV.
I just watch YouTube.
Isn't that... Phew.
I mean, it makes sense.
It
in
does.
This ADHD world that we're in. You
Well, and
can
it's...
flip around between 5-minute videos until you're bored.
Well, I'm pretty sure you and I have talked about this. Maybe I've said this on here on the episode, on our podcast, or maybe I haven't. But it's like my favorite comic is like Life Before Google, and it's like two animals, and he's like, I just thought of something I wanted to learn more about, and the other animal's like, that's a damn shame. It's like, dude, it's like literally, it's like an endless. It's the perfect storm because it sates our curiosity, our entertainment, our need, our whatever, like everything you can think of it outside of like feeding us and having sex with us and and everything else. Like it's like a total service provider.
It's the age of information.
The AOI. I
Yeah.
just abbreviated it because you said that.
That would be hell. Like, it wouldn't be hell living in like the 1920s or 40s or whatever, depending on what part of the world.
Exactly
But-
what I was gonna say.
But it would be hell knowing what the future holds and then having to live there. Like if we got transported back there, dude, we'd go crazy. It would take a few years and we'd assimilate. But,
I think we would. I think it would require a lot of like.
but like
we would
our
have to change
humor, our humor. No, there wouldn't be a single other person on the planet that would understand.
They might they might laugh because it's so it's so hard to understand or so out there that they might be like, oh, they're insane.
We could be movie stars.
There's not movies, but we could be stars in plays.
Same thing.
It depends on how far back you're talking.
I'm talking about like 1940 BC.
Oh, okay.
BC.
Oh,
yeah.
They don't have.
Shame.
I don't believe they have movies back then. They had slideshows.
You don't know.
If you wanted to see a moving picture back then, you had to start at one end of the cave and run while staring sideways at the wall and watch the pictures move as you run
Hope
to
you
the end
don't
of the
trip.
Exactly. I had a bad movie experience. I broke my knee.
Oh man, what do you think about Ancient Aliens?
Ooh. I haven't thought a lot about it. My gut instinct is to say that it's a bunch of baloney. But from what I have seen of it, I know that there's a lot of things that we can't yet explain, and that a lot of hieroglyphs that look suspiciously like futuristic spacecraft and other things, when the people were predominantly drawing pictures of like animals and personified caricatures of people and anthropomorphized people as animals and the gods, and it just there's a lot of things that like I think lend themselves to that kind of we don't know, but it makes me wonder if it's that.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of like in the absence of certainty, we have a lot of theories that are more or less believable.
Are you talking about like I was talking about the idea of ancient aliens? Are you referring to the idea or the show?
I was referring to the idea.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because the show's fucking wacky. It was real. Like if they did half a season, if they did like a little limited series, like 4 episodes, that show would be amazing. But they've drawn it out over like 15 seasons, and it's just so watered down now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They ran out of stuff.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, that was bad planning.
But the first couple episodes are really good, and they really make you think. Like the hieroglyphs, like you said, and the way that the pyramids are all like lined up perfectly on like a certain, I don't know,
like latitude and longitude line. Or
yeah,
axis.
but it also lines up with like the way stars align, and it's just shit that they wouldn't even know back then, like without a telescope, and they didn't have telescopes back then supposedly. So it's crazy stuff. You remember Graham Hancock I showed you?
Yeah.
So
I have several of his books on my wish list because you told me about it.
Nice. His main theory is I don't think he really believes in ancient aliens, but he believes there was another advanced civilization on Earth that got wiped out. Like a lot of things that we attribute to the Egyptians, like the pyramids and stuff, and we have no idea how they built them. He thinks it was another civilization that's just as advanced as us or more advanced that ended up getting wiped out for some reason, like many, many, many years before we think that like humans were existing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I mean, like the Egyptians even had batteries. Like they had like batteries that were like in clay pots with like wires in them. Which like it's like, well, what were they powering? Like, what does that even mean? I mean, that would be. I mean, if that was the case, like that'd be fascinating.
Yeah. What if the Egyptians were just as advanced as us? They just did things differently. You know, they didn't have the same capitalistic mindset that we have.
No, they were a monarch. I mean, they had a dictator, a ruler that, that had slaves and killed them and, had them construct effigies in their likeness. And, it seems very primeval to me to think that maybe they had it right and we don't, as in terms of like empathy and modern sentimentality about our fellow man. They definitely had a very old school way.
Yeah, not necessarily right, but I'm just saying like they could still be technologically advanced and be archaic in certain ways.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm sure we are. And maybe like, I mean, in like a few decades, we'll look back at, the 2020s and be like, wow, they were so far behind. I mean, and that's just the way progress is, it's like.
Yeah, hopefully it's never like, man, I wish we could go back.
Yeah, I think the only people that feel that way now have some type of ist after their name, or some type of ism like sexism, racism.
Yeah.
Something I feel like those people want to go back to a time when, in their perspective, their needs and their predominance was supported by society. And
back
now
when things were right.
Yeah, back in the good old days when if you were a white, straight, God-fearing man, the world was your oyster.
Yeah. Still is.
Yeah, honestly, not much has changed. It's just
we're more
transparent, the gross iniquity that exists.
Yeah.
Bonesaw.
What?
Well, and maybe, you know what? Maybe, there's like, this happens in a lot of science fiction where like, races will exist and they'll get so technologically advanced they just disappear. And it's like maybe they're going to their heaven. Maybe they go to a place that where all the impurities of biology and of our morality and our rationality are clarified.
I mean, if the singularity really is the future, if that's the only way things can go, because I mean, it seems like we're gonna keep getting more advanced. We're gonna keep getting technology better and better and better until we merge with it to a certain extent. I mean, we're about to with Neurolink for the 4th time this podcast. We're about to merge
Get
with
your
it.
hand out of your pants.
But
Neuralink.
but eventually it's going to be much more than just like speeding up your thinking and having an interface. Like you're going to actually be able to have like your entire consciousness on a computer. And then at that point you can like download yourself into a virtual reality. And
so let me tell you about what I think when I hear that. Here I go.
let's do it.
So, to a degree, like how many neuronal connections do we have in our brains?
A lot.
A billion. Like it's like a billion impossible to understand connections in our brain. Like we have a billion, and they're all governed literally by like sodium and potassium, like is the way they fire, and like their neuronal potential and their firing potential, and it's called action potential, and whether they fire, whether they don't. And so to me, there is like even the smartest like computer today that like where they have server farms, that even when they have like hundreds of thousands of like I don't even know how to like petabytes like in like unbelievable amounts of storage space where you could store an infinite amount of like every digitized book, every 3D model that exists, they still can't replicate the complexity of a human brain.
Yeah.
And so it's like, to me it's like I cannot fathom. Like now, what I think they can do is a fake it till you make it. Like they can make one that like, yeah, it can't ever match that complexity, but it can do the output of that. Which we're not focusing on the millions of interconnections that are happening simultaneously in the brain. We're just seeing the output of that in action and speech and thought and everything. It's like they could probably make a facsimile of that's close enough, but it's really hard for me to believe that would ever be able to be computized.
I mean, that's the beautiful thing about exponential growth. Like it will 100% happen if Moore's law holds up. It's been calculated in like 30 less than 40 years away. If Moore's law keeps happening every year, that we will get a fully mapped human brain that functions like a human brain on a computer, not one that's a fake it till you make it.
I'd probably be terrified if it's like, oh,
what the fuck? Jesus.
You know what? That's true. And the argument that I'm using to defend that is called the argument from personal incredulity, which means that because I can't believe it, it's not true.
Yeah, same people that saw the computer that took up the size of the room that could just do simple math.
And we have a smartphone now.
Yeah, they're like, what do you mean we're going to be able to put someone on the moon with a computer?
What do you mean every person in a civilized modern world can walk with a computer because that could only do basic addition and subtraction. Like it couldn't, and like I've seen like in the game Minecraft, like there's people who've created computers. Like people have created working Game Boys that play working games in that. Like that is
Redstone, baby.
Yep, exactly. Redstone, baby. It's like we're in a place now where we're using computers that can simulate rudimentary computers.
That's so cool. Yeah.
That is so it is. It's like that is kind of beautiful.
So anyway, back to what I was saying, now that we've established it is possible.
I'm sorry, I'd like to redact for my ignorance.
So like this brings us back to heaven. Like maybe that is heaven, is when we achieve the singularity and we can just put our consciousness on a computer and simulate whatever we want in there. Because at that point, like, what's the point of living like in this world if you can live in that world and it can literally be paradise every second of every day and you'd be immortal? So maybe that's where advanced civilizations go. Maybe that's why we haven't been visited by aliens, because advanced civilizations don't just do what we think. The only thing we think of is just grow and grow and grow and take over. They get to the point to where they download their consciousness onto the cloud or some shit, and then they ascend. You know what I mean? And they don't need physical bodies anymore.
I mean, that's possible. Where would all of that data be stored?
I mean, like their home planet or something. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, they would still, if that was the case,
there'd be a repository that would contain all of the data for the world that they would be entering into, or the worlds.
Yeah,
kind of like in Midnight Gospel, where he can enter. Yeah. Like Clancy enters all these different worlds.
If that was the case, I mean, I'm sure they could have like worker bots or drones or some shit in the physical world that could keep building server farms that would keep housing all the people.
The people.
The people. It's a really cool thought.
That is. And I guess that kind of like goes back is like, like, so the thing that I think very organically, like not, I don't like my thoughts aren't organic. Like I think like anatomical, physiological, neurological, like, the reason that we do things and the reason that we pursue things is because there's a release of dopamine, there's a release of serotonin, there's a release of there's an interplay of all these different neurotransmitters, neurochemicals that tell our body like, this is good, we should do this more, this is right. Like oxytocin when we're in love and we're sung with people, like when mothers give birth and they're breastfeeding or holding their child. There's all these chemical signals that we interpret as impulses or intuitions. And it's like if in a perfect, it's like, would those be simulated or would it just be like neutral? And if it's neutral, it's like if we're just following code, I don't know, because then it's like a simulation. It's like it feels real anyway.
Yeah,
I guess I'm kind of getting into an infinite regress, like a loop. But yeah, it's if we wouldn't, I'm just trying to argue, I guess, from my old sense of heaven, like if everything is perfect, then and everything releases dopamine, then that doesn't make sense from But then it's like if we're going to use that logic, well, then there would be a perfect heavenly system that recycled dopamine, and you would never have to,
But then the question is, if you're downloading your whole consciousness onto a computer, right? So I'm saying not sitting in a shell, like on the Matrix, when he wakes up and he pulls the thing out of his neck and there's like the farm of physical bodies that are just tapped into the Matrix. I'm saying like your entire consciousness is in there and your body doesn't exist anymore. You know what I mean? If that's the case, is that even you anymore? Because if you download your whole consciousness onto a computer, you don't stop existing here, but then you're there. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Yeah. So that wouldn't even...
there's a whole thought experiment about when you teleport, are you, like let's say you teleport and is that you on the other side, even though you've been completely deatomized and recreated? The other side is that what if you teleport and then you find out that you die in that teleportation and that like the person that's created is you, but they're like, it's like there's all these different variations of that, and it's like, are you still you? Is like, kind of, and that's all. It all comes back to the continuity of experience. Like, is it still me? Has there been a break in my experience, which only happens if we have sleep or a concussion or a mental illness or something?
That's another cool thought experiment. That just has nothing to do with what we were talking about. But there's no way to prove that this isn't like the first moment that you're alive and that all your memories have just been put into your head.
I think we've talked about that before.
On the podcast?
You can't prove it, but it seems very unlikely.
It's just so. I mean, you just said that putting your brain on a computer seems unlikely, and you completely changed your tune on that.
Okay.
Okay,
you've convinced me.
Okay, all right. Life is depressing.
I am an ignorant boy.
I am only a second old.
I know nothing, Poppy. Teach me.
Teach me, Daddy. Teach me.
Oh, all right.
I
think that's good. I think we did good.
Yeah, that was good.
You like that, corporate sponsors? You like that content?
You like that Mott's / and or Black Forest Gubbies?
Guppies. Go back, get you some guppies, Bubby. So that's what I want to end on is that I don't know if we have, maybe we haven't, maybe we just mention it in every episode because I was only born a few seconds ago and I have no idea. But Kyle and I's pastime whenever, so I slowly edged my way into a friendship and hijacked a friend from another good friend, and now we're all best friends and it's great. Whenever our mutual friend Zach would go up to bed, Kyle and I would stay downstairs on the couch, and usually we would play Super Smash Brothers for like 12 hours. Like we would start playing at like 6 and then go to bed at 6 in the morning. But at some point in our relationship, our banter went from like, regular macho gamer, like, oh, fuck you, oh, I'll beat you that way, oh, you fuck you my ass, and like all these things to like being babies and talking like babies at each other.
I have no idea when that happened.
I have no in the chain, and we started seeing other people responding to it because people would be like, all right, well, I'm gonna leave, because like we would just start being like, oh, we'll get you, oh, and we would just be like, oh, and we would talk in grunts and character sounds, and everything would have like a silly sing-songy baby vibe.
We would literally make each other laugh for 30 minutes without actually saying a coherent word.
Exactly.
that anyone else could understand.
And then like our best friend's wife would just like when we started, she would just like close her laptop or her book and be like, "All right, good night, boys.
I guess it's time to go to bed at 4 p.m.
The baby talk has begun." And so I'd like to dive into that in another episode more fully, but I just wanted to end on that because it's one of my favorite aspects of our relationship.
Yeah, now that you bring it up, I don't know when that happened.
No,
like
it was kind of like a gradient. Like it just started and then I think we were feeling each other out. And then when we felt more comfortable, like babying it up, we would just go full diaper babies and we would just do it for hours and hours and hours. All right. Well, I'm John.
I'm Kyle.
Thank you guys so much for listening. If you like what you heard, give us a subby, leave us a comment, a likey, me likey, the likeys.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're that porn guy that keeps commenting, keep it up.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Yeah, we really appreciate the exposure you're giving us. So
Yeah.
thank you. It's really boosting the numbers.
Yeah, link your OnlyFans.
Yeah, link. If you're a man.
If you're a real man.
If you're not a man, we're not interested. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.